A study published just 3 weeks ago in the Journal of the American Heart Association is making cardiologists around the world question everything they thought they knew about managing blood pressure. For decades, doctors have told their patients to cut back on salt, avoid red meat, and stay away from alcohol. And yes, those things matter. But this new research involving over 47,000 participants revealed something that shocked even seasoned physicians like myself. There's a drink sitting in almost every refrigerator, a drink that millions of seniors consume every single morning believing it's one of the healthiest choices they can make, and it may be quietly, steadily, dangerously raising their blood pressure without them ever suspecting a thing. I'm Dr. Evelyn Moore. I've been practicing internal medicine for over 28 years, and I've spent the last 15 of those years specializing in cardiovascular health for adults over 60. I've seen thousands of patients walk through my door confused, frustrated, and scared because their blood pressure won't come down no matter what they try. They're taking their medications, they're watching their sodium, they're doing everything right, or so they think. And yet, their numbers keep climbing. For years, I couldn't figure out what was going wrong for so many of them. But now, after reviewing this research and connecting it to patterns I've observed in my own practice, I finally understand. And what I'm about to share with you today could be the missing piece you've been searching for. But before I reveal exactly which drink I'm talking about and why it's so dangerous for your blood pressure, you need to understand something crucial. You need to understand why your body reacts to this substance the way it does, and why the advice you've been given for years has been incomplete at best and harmful at worst. And to help you truly grasp this, I need to tell you about a patient of mine. Her name was Margaret. Margaret was 73 years old when she first came to see me. She was a retired school teacher, a grandmother of 4, and one of the most disciplined patients I have ever met. When I asked her about her lifestyle, she pulled out a small notebook from her purse. She had been tracking everything, every meal, every walk around the neighborhood, every pill she took, and when she took it. Margaret was doing everything by the book. She told me, "Dr. Moore, I don't understand what's happening. My blood pressure was fine for most of my life. I never had any problems. But 3 years ago, it started creeping up. My doctor put me on medication, and I've been taking it religiously ever since. I've cut out almost all the salt in my diet. I stopped eating processed foods. I walk 30 minutes every day, rain or shine. But every time I go in for a checkup, my numbers are still high. Sometimes they're even higher than before. What am I doing wrong?" I looked at her charts. She was right. Despite being on 2 different blood pressure medications, her systolic pressure was consistently hovering around 155, sometimes spiking to 165. For someone her age, those numbers meant she was at significantly increased risk for stroke, heart attack, and kidney damage, and she was doing everything her previous doctors had told her to do. So I started asking different questions. I asked her to walk me through a typical day from the moment she woke up to the moment she went to sleep, and that's when I heard it. Margaret said, "Well, I wake up around 6:30. I take my morning medication with a full glass of water, just like I'm supposed to. Then I have my breakfast. Usually it's some oatmeal, maybe a piece of whole wheat toast, and of course, my orange juice. I've been drinking orange juice every morning for as long as I can remember. It's my little routine. My grandmother always said it was the best way to start the day, full of vitamins." I stopped her right there. I asked, "Margaret, how much orange juice do you drink in the morning?" She thought about it for a moment and said, "Oh, I'd say about 2 glasses. Sometimes 3 if I'm feeling a bit tired. I figure it gives me energy and all those vitamins. It's natural, right? It's fruit. It has to be good for me." And there it was, the culprit I had been looking for, not just in Margaret's case, but in dozens of cases that had puzzled me over the years. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Orange juice? Really? That's what's raising blood pressure? It's just fruit juice. It's natural. It's been recommended for decades. How could something so wholesome be causing harm? I completely understand that reaction. I would have had the same reaction myself years ago. But here's what I need you to understand, and this is where the science gets truly fascinating and a little bit disturbing. If you've ever struggled with blood pressure that won't come down, or if you know someone who has, I want you to do me a favor right now. Drop a comment below and tell me, do you drink juice in the morning? Any kind of juice. Orange, apple, grape, cranberry, anything. Just type yes or no. I want to see how many of you this might be affecting, because I have a feeling the number is going to be much higher than any of us expect. Now let me explain exactly what's happening in your body when you drink that glass of juice, because once you understand this, everything else will make sense. When you eat an actual orange, a whole orange with the flesh and the fiber, your body has to work to digest it. The fiber slows down the absorption of the natural sugars. Your blood sugar rises gradually, your insulin responds appropriately, and everything stays in balance. It's a gentle, controlled process that your body is designed to handle. But when you drink orange juice, even 100% pure orange juice with no added sugar, you're consuming all the sugar from multiple oranges without any of the fiber. Think about it this way. A single glass of orange juice contains the sugar from approximately 4 to 6 oranges. Would you ever sit down and eat 6 oranges in one sitting? Probably not. But when it's in liquid form, you can consume all that sugar in 30 seconds flat. And here's what happens next. That concentrated sugar hits your bloodstream like a tidal wave. Your blood sugar spikes rapidly. In response, your pancreas floods your system with insulin to try to bring those levels down. But this spike and crash cycle doesn't just affect your blood sugar. It triggers a cascade of inflammatory responses throughout your body. And inflammation, as we now understand, is one of the primary drivers of high blood pressure. Let me give you an analogy that might help you visualize this. Imagine your blood vessels are like garden hoses. When everything is working properly, the water flows through smoothly and efficiently. But inflammation is like tiny bits of debris getting stuck along the walls of that hose. Over time, those bits of debris build up, the opening gets narrower, and your heart has to pump harder to push the same amount of blood through those narrower passages. That increased force is exactly what we measure when we take your blood pressure. The harder your heart has to work, the higher those numbers go. But the sugar spike is only the first problem. The second issue is what happens to a substance called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules in your entire cardiovascular system. It's what tells your blood vessels to relax and widen. When you have plenty of nitric oxide, your vessels stay flexible and open. Blood flows easily. Pressure stays low. But here's what the research has shown. High sugar intake directly reduces nitric oxide production. Every time you drink that glass of juice and send your blood sugar spiking, you're essentially telling your blood vessels to tighten up and stay rigid. You're taking away their ability to relax. And there's a third mechanism at play here, one that specifically affects people over 60. As we age, our kidneys become more sensitive to dietary changes. When you consume large amounts of rapidly absorbed sugar, it affects how your kidneys handle sodium. Even if you're watching your salt intake carefully, those sugar spikes can cause your kidneys to retain more sodium than they should, and retained sodium means retained water, and retained water means increased blood pressure. This is why so many seniors find themselves in Margaret's situation. They're doing everything they've been told to do about salt and exercise and medication, but they're unknowingly sabotaging their efforts every single morning with a drink they believe is healthy. Now, I promised you I would reveal the research, and I want you to understand just how significant these findings are. The study I mentioned at the beginning was published in the Journal of the American Heart Association, and it followed over 47,000 adults for more than a decade. The researchers tracked not just overall sugar intake, but specifically the consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages and fruit juices, and what they found was remarkable. Participants who consumed 1 or more servings of fruit juice daily had a 24% higher risk of developing hypertension compared to those who rarely or never drank juice. Let me say that again, 24% higher risk. And this was true even after they adjusted for other factors like body weight, physical activity, and overall diet quality. But here's what really caught my attention. The effect was even more pronounced in adults over 65. In this age group, daily juice consumption was associated with an average systolic blood pressure increase of 7 to 12 points. That might not sound like much, but in terms of cardiovascular risk, That's enormous. A sustained increase of just 10 points in systolic blood pressure doubles your risk of dying from heart disease or stroke. Another study published in the British Medical Journal looked specifically at how rapidly absorbed sugars affect vascular function in older adults. They found that the blood vessel stiffening effect I described earlier was significantly worse in people over 60 compared to younger adults. Our aging blood vessels are simply more vulnerable to this kind of damage. And a third piece of research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition demonstrated that replacing fruit juice with whole fruit led to measurable improvements in blood pressure within just 8 weeks. 8 weeks, no new medications, no additional exercise, just one simple substitution. So what happened to Margaret when I shared this information with her? At first, she was skeptical. She said to me, "Dr. Moore, I've been drinking orange juice my whole life. My grandmother drank it every day and lived to 92. How can it suddenly be a problem?" I told her, "Margaret, it's not that the juice is toxic or poisonous, and your grandmother probably wasn't dealing with the same cardiovascular pressures you are right now, but your body has changed. Your vessels have changed. And the same thing that might have been neutral or even beneficial decades ago can have different effects now. Just try it for me, just for 8 weeks. Replace the juice with water or herbal tea in the morning, and let's see what your numbers do," she agreed, somewhat reluctantly. And what happened next surprised even me. When Margaret came back for her follow-up appointment 2 months later, I could see something different in her face before she even said a word. She looked lighter somehow, more relaxed. She said, "Dr. Moore, I didn't believe you. I'm sorry, but I really didn't. I thought there was no way something as simple as juice could be affecting me that much, but I promised I would try, so I did. I stopped the juice and started drinking water with my breakfast. And I have to tell you, at first I didn't notice anything. For the first 2 or 3 weeks, I felt exactly the same. But then something started to shift. I started sleeping better. I had more energy in the afternoons, and when I checked my blood pressure at home, it was lower. I thought maybe the machine was broken. I took her blood pressure right there in the office. Her systolic reading was 136. That was almost 20 points lower than her previous visits, and her diastolic had dropped from 92 to 81. These weren't small changes. These were life-altering improvements. Over the following months, we were actually able to reduce one of her blood pressure medications. She went from taking 2 pills every day to just 1. And her numbers have stayed stable ever since. Now, I want to be very clear about something because I know some of you might be thinking this is too simple. I am not saying that eliminating juice will cure everyone's high blood pressure. Blood pressure is complex, it has many contributing factors, and medication is often absolutely necessary and life-saving. Please, never stop or reduce your medication without talking to your doctor first. What I am saying is that for many people, especially those over 60, this one dietary change can make a meaningful difference. And it's a change that costs nothing, has no side effects, and can work alongside whatever other treatments you're already using. Let me tell you about a few other patients who had similar experiences, because Margaret's story is far from unique. Richard was 68. A former accountant who prided himself on his analytical mind. When I first suggested the juice connection, he actually asked to see the studies himself. He spent a week reading through the research, came back to my office and said, "All right, I'm convinced, but I'm not doing orange juice, I'm doing apple juice. That's different, right?" I had to explain to him that apple juice is actually even more concentrated in sugar than orange juice. A single cup of apple juice contains about 24 grams of sugar. That's almost as much as a can of cola. Richard was shocked. He had been drinking 2 glasses of apple juice every day for over a decade, thinking he was making a healthy choice. Within 6 weeks of stopping the apple juice, Richard's blood pressure dropped from 148/94 to 132/84. He called me on the phone and said, "I feel like I've been poisoning myself for years without knowing it." Then there was Dorothy, 74, who didn't drink juice first thing in the morning. She drank it throughout the day. She kept a pitcher of cranberry juice cocktail in her refrigerator and would pour herself small glasses whenever she felt thirsty. She estimated she was consuming about 4 to 5 glasses per day. Dorothy's blood pressure had been so stubbornly high that her doctors had tried 4 different medications, and none of them seemed to work adequately. When I reviewed her daily habits and identified the cranberry juice as a potential issue, she was resistant. She said, "But cranberry juice is supposed to be good for you. It helps prevent urinary tract infections. I've read that everywhere." I explained to her that while cranberry extract in supplement form can have some benefits, commercial cranberry juice cocktail is loaded with added sugar. The kind she was buying had 32 grams of sugar per serving, and she was having 4 or 5 servings per day. That's over 100 grams of added sugar every single day, just from juice. Dorothy made the switch to water with a splash of lemon and started taking a pure cranberry extract supplement instead. Within 3 months, her blood pressure was finally under control for the first time in years. Her doctor was able to consolidate her medications, and she told me she felt better than she had in a decade. And finally, there was Thomas, 71, who didn't drink fruit juice at all, but he had a different version of the same problem. Every morning with breakfast, Thomas drank 2 glasses of sweetened iced tea. He had grown up in a region where sweet tea was a cultural staple, and he continued the tradition into his senior years. He never thought of it as being in the same category as juice because it wasn't fruit-based, but sweetened iced tea has the same sugar spike effect as juice. Thomas was consuming nearly 50 grams of sugar before 9 in the morning. When he switched to unsweetened tea with a tiny bit of natural honey, his systolic pressure dropped 15 points in 2 months. These stories share a common thread. All of these patients were smart, health-conscious people who were genuinely trying to take care of themselves. They weren't eating fast food every day or ignoring medical advice. They were simply unaware that the beverages they considered healthy were working against them. Now, I want to hear from you again. After hearing these stories, has it changed how you think about what you drink in the morning or throughout the day? Comment below and tell me, are you going to try reducing or eliminating juice from your routine? I read every comment, and I genuinely want to know if this information is resonating with you. So, what should you actually do with this information? Let me give you a clear, practical protocol that you can start implementing today. First, take an honest inventory of your current beverage consumption. For the next 3 days, write down every single liquid you consume, not just juice. Include sodas, sweetened teas, sports drinks, flavored waters, and anything else that might contain hidden sugars. Many people are surprised to discover how much sugar they're drinking without realizing it. Coffee creamers, bottled smoothies, even some brands of almond milk can have significant added sugars. Second, make the switch gradually if you need to. If you've been drinking juice every morning for decades, going cold turkey might feel too drastic. Start by cutting your portion in half. If you normally drink 2 glasses, drink 1. Then, over a few weeks, reduce it further. Eventually, replace it entirely with water, herbal tea, or simply eating a piece of whole fruit instead. Third, read labels carefully. Not all fruit juices are created equal, and some beverages marketed as healthy alternatives are just as problematic. Look for products that have no added sugar, but also check the natural sugar content. Even products labeled as 100% juice can have very high sugar loads. Grape juice, for example, can have 36 grams of sugar per cup. Fourth, if you love the taste of fruit in the morning, eat the whole fruit instead of drinking it. An actual orange has about 12 grams of sugar and 3 grams of fiber. That fiber makes all the difference. It slows down sugar absorption, keeps you feeling full longer, and doesn't cause the same blood pressure effects. You get the vitamins, you get the taste, but you don't get the harmful spike. Fifth, stay hydrated with better alternatives. Many people drink juice simply because water seems boring, but there are excellent options that don't carry the same risks. Herbal teas, both hot and iced, have 0 sugar and can be very flavorful. Water infused with slices of cucumber, lemon, or berries can give you a hint of flavor without the sugar load. Sparkling water with a splash of natural lime juice can satisfy the craving for something more interesting than plain water. Sixth, monitor your blood pressure at home. If you're going to make this change, you want to track the results. Inexpensive home blood pressure monitors are available at most pharmacies. Take your readings at the same time each day, preferably in the morning before any food or drink, and keep a simple log. After 4 to 6 weeks of reducing your juice intake, look at the trend. Many people see noticeable improvements within this time frame. Seventh, and this is critically important, talk to your doctor before making any changes to your medication. If your blood pressure does improve significantly, do not adjust your medication on your own. Share your results with your physician and let them decide if any medication changes are appropriate. Some patients, like Margaret, are eventually able to reduce their medications under proper medical supervision, but this should always be done with professional guidance. Eighth, be patient and consistent. Your blood vessels didn't become stiff overnight, and they won't recover overnight either. Some people see changes within weeks, but for others, it may take 2 to 3 months before the full effects become apparent. Stay committed to the change, keep monitoring your numbers, and trust the process. Now, I want to address something I know some of you might be feeling right now. You might be feeling angry. Angry that no one told you this before. Angry that for years you were led to believe juice was a healthy choice. Angry that you might have been unintentionally harming yourself. I understand that anger. I've felt it myself. When I first started connecting these dots in my practice, I was frustrated that this information wasn't more widely shared. Fruit juice is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there are powerful interests that benefit from people continuing to believe it's equivalent to eating fresh fruit. But the science is clear, and it's becoming clearer with each new study that gets published. The good news is that you know now. You have information that most people still don't have, and more importantly, you have the power to do something about it. This is one of those rare situations in medicine where a simple lifestyle change can have profound effects. You don't need expensive treatments or complicated interventions. You just need to replace one habit with another. Let me leave you with this thought. Your body is remarkably resilient. Even if you've been drinking juice every day for decades, your cardiovascular system can begin to heal once you remove the constant stress. The inflammatory processes can calm down. Nitric oxide production can recover. Your blood vessels can regain some of their flexibility. It's never too late to make a change that benefits your health. Margaret is now 76 years old. Her blood pressure has remained stable for 3 years. She still tracks everything in that little notebook of hers, but now she tracks different things. She counts the whole fruit she eats, the glasses of water she drinks, and the mornings she wakes up feeling energetic and clear-headed. She told me recently, Dr. Moore, I wish someone had told me this 20 years ago, but I'm grateful I know now. If this video has given you something to think about, I want to ask you to do 3 things. First, hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss future videos where I share more insights like this. I'm committed to helping you navigate the confusing world of health information and find what actually works. Second, share this video with someone you care about, someone who might be struggling with blood pressure, someone who drinks juice every morning, someone who needs to hear this. You could be passing along information that changes their life. And third, leave me a comment telling me what topic you want me to cover next. Your questions and suggestions help me create content that truly serves you. Remember, I'm not asking you to distrust your doctors or ignore medical advice. I'm asking you to be an informed participant in your own healthcare, to ask questions, to look beyond the conventional wisdom, and to recognize that sometimes the smallest changes can make the biggest difference. This is Dr. Evelyn Moore, reminding you that taking care of your health is not just about following rules. It's about understanding your body, questioning assumptions, and making choices that truly serve your well-being. You deserve to feel your best at any age. And now you have one more tool to help you get there. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video. Disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only and is not intended to replace professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always consult your physician or qualified health provider before making any changes to your diet, medication, or health routine.